Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. And let's be honest, when it comes to YouTube and this particular genre of fitness, strength training, I'm definitely on the older side of the books, being almost 39 come January in 2020. So about 5 more months away. And as part of that, you guys have never been ones to hold back your opinions. I've gotten a lot of questions from people regarding if I'm going to jump on TRT or HRT or other anabolics just to kind of get my levels up to get in check because I need to make all kinds of gains because I don't look like I'm doing much of anything. And I appreciate that. But recently what I did is I actually partook in a Let's Get Checked at home test. Now, if you're not familiar with Let's Get Checked, it's a very simple service. They have a whole bunch of different tests out there. They're sponsoring this particular video. They sent me a kit to try. They sent me the male hormone one, which tests testosterone and a couple other things, which I'll show you in a second. But they're great because they're at home. They're discreet. You don't have to go anywhere. You basically just prick your finger, put some drops of blood into the vial that's provided, and they provide all the things necessary and the instructions. And if I can do it, you can do it as well. You seal it up and send it back out, which is all paid for by them. And within a couple of days, you have all your results online. And they also have a nurse that calls you to go over your results if need be. And you can get more insight there if needed. So very simple, easy to use process. It took me probably about 8 days from start to finish, from sending the test in to here making this video talking about my results. So let's go ahead and take a look at my specific results first. All right, so here we are on the Let's Get Checked website, and it has the results of my male hormone test here. It tested for 5 different things: testosterone, sex hormone binding globulin, free androgen index, prolactin, and estradiol. To be honest, for some of these, I wasn't really too familiar with them. Whenever I got a test from my doctor in the past, I was really just concerned with the testosterone levels, which show here is good, and you can tell green is good, red potentially bad. And if you don't know what any of these are, you can actually open them up and it'll tell you exactly what your results are, what the normal range is, where you fall, and kind of a little brief overview. And if you need to talk to someone professionally about any of this, there's a speak to the nurse option. And what this allows you to do is have someone call you, and it's a live person, and it's part of any one of your tests. Now, again, all these numbers for me came back pretty good, except for the sex hormone binding globulin, which, truth be told, I was not familiar with. My results of 56, just outside the normal range, missed it by just 1. And it lets me know a little bit about it, which I'll talk about in just a second. But it's really eye-opening for me because, again, I wasn't familiar with this or this test for it, and I would have never known that I was outside of the normal range. And they have a lot of other tests on this site that you can sign up for. In fact, there'll be a link in the description box, and if you use my name, Brandon, as a code, you get a 20% off of your first test. So check that out if you're interested. So there you go. It was pretty interesting to me only because I'm the type of person that every time when I go in for my yearly physical, which I like to do just to make sure that I'm not dying, I always ask my doctor to test certain things as well. So I ask him, hey, can you tell me what my testosterone levels are? Things like that. And they've always come back within the normal range, which is good because that's what my test here showed me as well. But one of the things that was interesting is, to be honest, I don't find myself fairly versed in a lot of the other things out there. I think testosterone is probably the be all end all. And as long as I'm within normal levels, that's all good. But as you guys saw from the test results, it came back showing that my sex hormone binding globulin was a little bit elevated, just barely out of what's considered normal. But as part of this, if you're not familiar with it, which I wasn't at the time, which again, I learned something, which is always good to know, is that what this does is it binds to things like testosterone to help carry it throughout the body. But what can also happen is it basically renders a lot of that testosterone useless. So if you have a lot of this in your body, even though your testosterone levels might be within the normal range, it can lead to a lot of low testosterone type symptoms, being things like fatigue, loss of libido, loss of muscle mass, and a whole bunch of other things that run down the list, none of which are very appealing to someone who is training for strength and performance and just wants to live an overall healthy lifestyle. So this was eye-opening for me because, again, I've always been in the normal range for testosterone, which is good, I thought, but I learned that that sometimes doesn't matter. So if you go to your doctor and get a normal test and he comes back and tells you what your testosterone levels are and doesn't take a look at some of the other things that might be going on, you might be being told that everything's fine, but you know deep down inside that things aren't going that well. Now, luckily for me, like I said, I'm just basically over what the normal range is, and I'm not experiencing any of those symptoms, except some of you might question and say I'm experiencing a loss of muscle mass. But my training's been going really well. Hopefully you guys just saw my Wendler update. My strength is going up. I feel like I'm looking pretty good. Just lost a bunch of weight on a diet, so I still think I got it in me, so to say, where I don't need to pursue some of these things like TRT or HRT or testosterone or other kind of performance enhancing things that a lot of people do. And to be honest, my opinion on that subject is It's not for me, and in some instances, I think it's a cop-out for some people, because I definitely know people who kind of go about it and they want to get on those things as a way to increase their performance. And for me, getting into training was always about living a healthier lifestyle and a longer lifestyle. I'd like to live as long as I possibly can. And it's not so much about the short-term performance or strength or even the aesthetics of it, because that could potentially be sapping stuff away. And I think a lot of people go into it with the wrong mindset, saying that they want to be at the optimal or above optimal levels. And even though that their testosterone might be considered normal, they want that extra edge. And for me, I've never really wanted to go that route, because personally, I find like if I do that, number one, that's kind of cheating the system a little bit, and you could potentially be screwing up other things within your body, because I think a lot of people that go that route tend to go that route and stay on that route, when in reality, if you talk to any good endocrinologist, their job is to basically get your levels back to where they should be, and then have you go off of that TRT, HRT, testosterone, whatever the case may be. You shouldn't be on that for the rest of your life, which is the case for a lot of people, because again, it's one of those things that it's a mental thing where they think they're getting better performance, or maybe it's actually a physical thing where they are getting better performance. They can never really go back to normal, so to say. And I really don't want to go down that route unless it's severely impacting my life. So if it comes to the case where my testosterone levels are below what's considered normal, or my SHGB is really SHBG, again, new term for me, I apologize, is so high to the fact, and it keeps going up, where I'm experiencing some of those symptoms, that would be the case where I'd at least talk to my doctor and kind of have a sit down and kind of look at things and see where we need to be in order to do that. We're not at that point yet, so I'm not stressing it. But like I said, this gives me some insight that I didn't have before, which is good to know. I'm not knocking anyone that's on TRT, HRT, testosterone, or even stuff that's on performance-enhancing drugs, because that's your bag and not mine. So I don't judge you that way. But again, I don't try to hide it or kind of pull one over on you and go on that kind of stuff behind the scenes just as a way to increase my numbers for my YouTube channel, which in the long run isn't going to mean much at the end of the day. So hopefully that's some insight for you. Going back to the Let's Get Checked, as I mentioned, it gave me some insight I wasn't previously aware of. The great thing is too, is they have a website, which I'll link in the description below. If you use that link in the description and use the code Brandon, that actually will end up saving you 20% off of any kit you choose. So big thanks to them for sending this out and kind of opening my eyes, because now I have something to talk to my doctor about next time I go. I'm a little bit more informed, and I learned a little bit about how my body works. It's not that fine-tuned machine that I thought it was. It just looks that way on YouTube. So if you have any questions, let me know below. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching, and stay big.